Tonight, the 2020 race for the White House takes a heated turn.
The question is, radical left. Will you shut up, man?
We have the highlights and the low moments of the presidential hopeful's first debate. Plus,
about 40% of us are registered independent or not party affiliated.
How the Latino vote could determine the outcome of the election. And as the High Court prepares to begin its next term, we examine some of the biggest cases that may wind up on the Supreme Court docket. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Chaos in Cleveland could spell changes for the next presidential debate. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder.
Good evening. I'm John Jessup. Interruptions, insults, and a lot of confusion in the wake of the carnage from the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, now in what many are referring to as a disastrous free-for-all.
Now, this afternoon, the Commission on Presidential Debates announcing the need for additional structure for the next two debates to help, quote, ensure more orderly discussion. Ben Kennedy has a look at the chaotic debate that led to that announcement.
Looking forward to this, Mr. President.
But it did not take long for things to get tense.
I've done more than you've done in 47 years.
Will he just shush for a minute?
Angry interruptions.
Let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
And bitter accusations.
The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie.
The first debate between President Trump and Democratic challenger Biden erupted in a fight over the nation's response to COVID.
He wants to shut down this country. And I want to keep it open. And we did a great thing by shutting it down. Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second.
The two at odds on plans to reopen the country. Biden said it's wrong for Trump to hold large campaign rallies during the pandemic.
Biden, you are holding much smaller events with...
Because nobody will show up.
People with...
What's true? Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say.
At one point, as Trump talked about Democrats being far left, Biden tried to distance himself.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the Democratic Party is what I, in fact, approved of.
Just lost the left.
Biden said he doesn't approve of the Green New Deal, even though his vice presidential pick is a co-sponsor.
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
Oh, you don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I support
that means you just lost the radical left.
I support the Biden plan.
Trump also called out Biden for not saying law enforcement.
The people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
The question I have, though, is, as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted.
Trump then defended his nomination of a new justice to the Supreme Court.
We won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her.
We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is.
Biden's concerned Amy Coney Barrett could end abortion.
The president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already begun.
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
why is it on the ballot? It's not on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the court.
I don't think so.
In the court. Well,
there's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
just
be quiet for a minute?
And you don't know her view on Roe v. Wade.
What's also still not known is how much Trump paid in federal taxes, which he says is under audit. The New York Times reports Trump paid just $750 in federal income taxes in 2016 and 17.
I paid $38 million one year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax return.
Biden said he'll accept the outcome of the election once all the ballots are counted, accusing Trump of trying to scare people when it comes to voting by mail.
Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia, mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
Now, last night was round 1 of 3. The next debate is October 15th in Miami. It is still unclear how much these debates will sway voters, as at least 1 million ballots have already been cast. Ben Kennedy, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Ben. And joining us now, CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody. David, last night the gloves were off. It got ugly. Your big takeaways from the night?
Well, I found that Calgon baths typically work well after debates like that. That was my number 1 takeaway. Look, it was downright ugly, and that's probably an insult to ugly. This whole thing was, I mean, it's one thing for Trump to play the strong man, but this was Red Bull energy strong man, and that I don't think anybody has time for any of that. And honestly, I think he hurt himself, Donald Trump did, by not letting Joe Biden talk more. I mean, that was the whole point, right? I mean, for months and months, we heard the Trump campaign saying Joe Biden's a gaffe machine. Well, if he's a gaffe machine, let him talk and let him make some gas. But, you know, Trump just needed to talk and talk and talk. So, you know, I thought there were some missed opportunities there. Having said that, I do think that if you get away from the style for a second, very hard to do. I get it. But if you're going to go to the substance, as Ben pointed out in the piece, I mean, Joe Biden was moving away from key positions that the radical left is for. The Green New Deal, Joe Biden said, I'm not for the Green New Deal. I'm opposed to defunding the police. I'm not into Bernie Sanders' manifesto. He said there is no manifesto. So if you kind of drill down, I think the storyline to watch coming out of this debate is how much the radical left is going to push back against Joe Biden here in the next month, because Joe Biden needs everyone, left and right, to beat Donald Trump.
David, on the topic of racism, Trump bypassed the opportunity to condemn white supremacy. It's one of the top-line stories that has been going on all day today from last night's debate. How much will this hurt him?
Well, look, I think the people that think Donald Trump is a racist still think today that Donald Trump is a racist, and the people that don't. So I don't really think that is going to matter too much. I will say this. It was a major whiff by Donald Trump. I mean, come on. Chris Wallace teed it up for you. I know you didn't like the question. I know we didn't like the question, but he teed it up for you. All you need to say is these words: I denounce the KKK. Now, Donald Trump has said those specific words multiple times during his presidency. So the fact that Chris Wallace would even bring it up is kind of a bit ridiculous, but he did. And the problem was that Trump just couldn't even say it at that point, and he needed to. And the reason, of course, the left is going to say, well, the reason he didn't say it is because he's a racist. Look, I think the reason he didn't say it is he was trying to get to Antifa and say Antifa is the problem. Fine. Get to Antifa and talk about that being the problem. But could you step back for a moment and say, I denounce the KKK? And then on the Proud Boys thing, yeah, go ahead.
If that's the case, then why not just go ahead and tweet about it? It's been, you know, hours. We're in the next day. Why not go ahead and clarify if that's what he truly believes?
Because he thought the question was a setup, and I think he's not dignifying it with a tweet or an answer of any sort. I think he thought that, you know, why am I getting asked about that, but Joe Biden's not being asked too much about Antifa, though he was. And I think that Donald Trump wanted to push the Antifa message to Joe Biden. The problem was he went too fast, and he pivoted to Antifa before actually doing what he should have done, which is denounce the KKK right there on a big national platform.
Yeah, David, people on both sides of the aisle do seem to agree that it was a pretty abysmal night. You say that America got what it deserved last night. What do you mean by that?
Jenna, John, we're in our own cocoons, right? We talk to a lot of the same people that believe what we believe, conservatives and liberals, and we're in these groups. We got a group over here and a group over there, and we come to groupthink, right? We have I agree with what you're saying, and we all agree on one thing, and the other side all agrees on another thing, but no side is talking to each other whatsoever. It's like that's been done away with. And because of that, here's what we get. We become a bitter and nasty country, and we got a bitter and nasty debate. And I think it goes to the spiritual state of our country. I think that's the underlying issue. We need prayer in this country. We need revival in this country. Franklin Graham goes on Faith Nation and talks about it quite a bit. But I think you saw the fruit. Unfortunately, it's not a fruit. It'd be the anti-fruit of it in Cleveland on Tuesday night.
All right, David Brody, we will leave it there. It's great to get your insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David. Well, a majority of Spanish speakers say President Trump won last night's debate. That's according to one poll from Telemundo released during post-debate network coverage. It shows 66% of Telemundo's Spanish-speaking audience thought President Trump was the victor. The unscientific survey showed only 34% deemed Biden the winner. Well, Hispanic voters are a key swing demographic both campaigns are targeting hard.
And while the Latino voting bloc historically leans left, in this election cycle, Biden's campaign isn't seeing as much Hispanic support as it would like. CBN's Heather Sells has more.
With less than 40 days till the election, the margins are tightening, and both campaigns think Hispanic voters could make the difference, especially in these battleground states, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and Florida.
40 days from now, we're going to win Florida.
These 4 states have substantial Latino populations, and nationwide their numbers are on the rise. A projected 32 million are eligible voters this year, exceeding blacks for the first time. But this group traditionally has failed to see high turnout at the voting booth. Hispanic leader Domingo Garcia says Latinos need candidates who excite them, and right now, Biden is failing.
You can't just be against Trump. You got to be for something. And I think Biden's lacking that inspirational message to get Latino voters out.
So what is inspirational to Hispanics? Some of the biggest concerns: the economy, health care, and COVID. Both candidates are playing to that, but Trump is playing another card.
The Democrat Party has been completely taken over by socialists, Marxists, and far-left extremists. They embrace the policies of communist Cuba, socialist Venezuela. They want to end the American dream for Hispanic Americans. We love Hispanic Americans.
It's a card that plays especially well in Florida, where he must win.
In Florida, it's very significant. The fact of the matter is, both the Cuban and Venezuelan refugees that are now U.S. citizens are very, when you hear the word socialist, that is just a bad word.
Biden, for his part, is going after Trump on immigration.
Look, Donald Trump has failed the Hispanic community time and time again, and that's not a secret. Whether it's in his heinous act of separating children from their families at our border, or his repeated attacks on Dreamers.
Garcia says Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric turns off a lot of voters. Although most Hispanics aren't immigrants, in fact, 4 out of 5 are U.S. citizens. But more importantly, says Garcia, they care about faith.
A lot of people, especially Latino males, conservative evangelicals, and Catholics, are willing to put that aside because of his positions on social issues.
Evangelical leader Gabriel Salguero cautions against too narrow a message, calling Latinos the quintessential swing voters.
About 40% of us are registered independent or not party affiliated.
In addition, Hispanics have been more deeply devastated by COVID than the general population. More of them are essential workers, and more of them are getting sick and dying than their white counterparts. If they see a candidate who could make a difference in their lives, that could be what it takes to get them to the polls. Heather Sells, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Heather. And beyond the campaign trail tonight, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is urging the Catholic Church to take a greater stand against religious persecution in China. Pompeo is saying today the Church has the responsibility to fight for basic human rights like religious freedom, and pointing to cases of abuse against Catholics in China.
Catholic churches and shrines have been desecrated and destroyed. Catholic bishops, like Augustine Shui Tai, have been imprisoned as if priests in Italy. And Catholic lay leaders in the human rights movement, not least in Hong Kong, have been arrested. Authorities order residents to replace pictures of Jesus with those of Chairman Mao and those of General Secretary Xi Jinping.
And Pompeo's comments came during a religious freedom convention in Italy today. While overseas, the Secretary of State will hold a meeting with the Vatican's foreign minister. But because of the upcoming election, he will not have an audience with the Pope.
When Faith Nation returns, the Supreme Court kicks off a new term next week. The major cases likely making their way to the docket.
before you marry is a bad idea. Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Welcome back. Former FBI Director James Comey today defended the Bureau's actions during his tenure concerning the origins of the Russia investigation. Comey was testifying on Capitol Hill before the Senate Judiciary Committee, where GOP senators grilled him about the investigation known as Crossfire Hurricane.
It looks like both the Democratic National Committee and Russian intelligence services manipulated the FBI under your watch. How could the world's premier law enforcement agency miss all of these signs?
I'm sorry, Senator, I disagree with a lot of aspects of your preamble, so I can't answer that one.
It pretty much speaks for itself that maybe you aren't on top of things the way you should have been.
Comey did acknowledge there were issues with the FISA warrants granted to investigate former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, but added that was only a small part of the larger investigation into Russian election interference.
Also on Capitol Hill today, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, the president's Supreme Court nominee, meeting with more Republican senators in the lead up to her confirmation hearing. Barrett sat down with Senator Mitt Romney today. Romney, of course, was key in opening the door for the president to move forward with a high court nomination so close to the election. Barrett's confirmation hearing begins October 12th.
And meanwhile, the high court begins a new term Monday. The bench, of course, one seat short after the death of the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
And that could have an effect on the cases involving religious liberty and health care. Here's CBN's Paul Strand with a look at what is on the docket.
The main religious liberty case involves a Philadelphia Catholic foster agency tossed out of placing foster children for the city because it wouldn't, for biblical reasons, agree to hand kids over to same-sex married couples. The question is whether the city has infringed on the agency's religious liberty.
I think many of the justices think that Philadelphia, even if the Constitution didn't compel it, the city ought to have granted a religious exemption in these circumstances.
A huge difference this term is the absence of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This likely means less power for the liberals she led and more for the conservative-leaning justices. And that's why all eyes are on the confirmation process of Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Her record shows that she'll be a justice, as she said, more in the mode of Justice Scalia than in the mode of Justice Ginsburg. And that's precisely what the Democrats are afraid of.
Obamacare is once more on the line this term. The justices will decide if the individual mandate that forced Americans to get health insurance is unconstitutional. And if they rule it is, whether that then kills the entire Affordable Care Act.
And that's the case Democrats are making their main argument against both President Trump and Amy Coney Barrett. They maintain he wants to kill Obamacare, and she's the justice who would help do it.
That case, filed by 14 Republican attorneys general, and the Trump administration would eliminate the Affordable Care Act. Not change it, eliminated.
Most legal scholars don't agree because they say this case has little chance of destroying the whole Obamacare law. And a former Barrett colleague says it's ridiculous to assume her vote is already decided before the case is even heard.
It is her conviction. And she has said over and over again, whatever her personal, political, or religious beliefs, her fidelity is to the rule of law first, foremost, and only.
But until there's a decision on Barrett, the Supreme Court is split 4-4. That could cause real trouble if the presidential election is contested and the court has to basically pick the president, as it did in Bush versus Gore.
I think this will end up in the Supreme Court, and I think it's very important that we have 9 justices.
A huge question is whether a growing conservative wing of the court could use the next abortion case to weaken or even overturn Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion nationwide. No cases are on the docket right now, but 2 soon could be. Whether Mississippi can ban abortions from 15 weeks on, and whether it places an undue burden on patients to force them during a pandemic to visit a doctor to get the drugs needed for a medication abortion.
The court's new term begins, as it traditionally does, on the first Monday of October. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Supreme Court.
And we will all be watching. Thanks, Paul. Coming up, hitting the brakes on the release of the grand jury transcripts in the Breonna Taylor case. We explain why when we come back.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Home Front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
And welcome back. Well, the public will face a longer wait now to learn more about the grand jury investigation into the case of Breonna Taylor.
That's because the Kentucky Attorney General requested a delay one day after announcing the findings would be released. CBN's Eric Phillips has more.
It's been a week now since the country learned no one would face any charges for the shooting death of Breonna Taylor after multiple requests for the release of grand jury transcripts, including Taylor's family and one of the jurors. A judge ordered their release to happen Wednesday.
America and Ms. Palmer deserve to know what actually did the grand jury have the ability to decide. I definitely think it's a big step towards justice. It's toward truth-finding.
But Attorney General Daniel Cameron requested a week extension to provide the documentation. Cameron maintained some recordings are 20 hours long, and his office needed time to redact names and personal information. A judge is giving his office 2 days. Last Wednesday, Cameron announced the grand jury decided to charge Brett Hankison, one of 3 officers who burst into Taylor's apartment, with wanton endangerment in the first degree for shooting into a neighbor's apartment. The AG has been under fire for not recommending murder or lesser charges for the other officers, one of whom fired the shot that killed Taylor.
They're an independent body. If they wanted to make an assessment about different charges, they could have done that.
Legal experts call that rare, saying it's usually all up to the prosecutor.
The prosecutor controls everything. They control the information that's presented. They control the witnesses that are presented to the grand jury.
Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Still ahead, honoring the heroes of the pandemic. How communities are coming together to let frontline workers know they have not been forgotten.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Well, finally tonight, every day frontline workers continue to put their lives on the line in the fight against the coronavirus here in the United States.
Yeah, and as the pandemic wears on, communities across the country are coming together to honor their healthcare workers. That is what recently happened in San Antonio. After working a 12-hour shift as a respiratory therapist, Petra Sedbury came home to a surprise in her front yard. A huge thank you sign lined the sidewalk outside her home. There you can see it, bringing the nurse to tears. Not only was Sedbury honored with a sign, but about 25 San Antonio businesses donated gifts to help thank her for her hard work. It is certainly deserving, she and so many others.
I was just about to say well deserved. Thanks for watching.